You're capable of a lot more than you know.
This is David, but you probably know him as HowToBeast, one of the biggest self-improvement YouTubers in the world. And this podcast was crazy. Let me tell you a little bit about this man. David has absolutely exploded on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok over the last few years, creating content about what he simply describes as quote unquote, building confidence and getting jacked. Sounds pretty good, right? Well, David has quite literally amassed an army of followers by documenting his journey from broke with zero confidence to making hundreds of thousands in profit per month with 6 different businesses, ranging from coaching men on how to date women to a full-on supplement brand. Oh, and he's also fucking jacked. Now, it's 2023, we're all on our self-improvement journeys, and I know you're all trying to get shredded and rich, so I decided to employ an extremely advanced strategy to get David to come on the channel for you guys. I DM'd him on Instagram and asked if he could come teach us about how to be jacked, happy, and rich. And as you can tell by this video, he said yes. In this video, not only did I get to talk to David about exactly how he went from someone with zero confidence to making millions of dollars on the internet, but I got him to break down the exact formula for you guys. So if you're trying to level up your confidence, mindset, health, or bank account, this video is for you. Guys, I'm Champ and I travel the world to meet some of the richest and most successful people on the planet, gathering their secrets about money, mindset, and more so you don't have to. So, if you get any value out of this video, let me know your thoughts down below and drop a sub on the channel. I also have a free newsletter below where I send out all the lessons that took me from broke to 7 figures at 23. It's been growing super fast, so be sure you hop in it. It'll be in the description. And without further ado, I present to you HowToBeast. What's going on, guys? My name is Champ and welcome back to what I have now lovingly dubbed the 100K show, because we just seem to keep having guests on here that have scaled well past $100,000 per month. And we're here to talk about how you can improve your life. Today, banger guest, guys. Super excited for today. This is a man that I would consider a legend in the YouTube self-improvement space who has been helping young men across the world better themselves for years now. Somebody whose content I consume myself. We have David of HowToBeast. Now, David, would you mind, for those who don't know you yet, giving a quick formal intro?
Okay. I mean, thank you for having me up. I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course.
And I appreciate you watching the videos as well. A formal intro. Okay. So grew up in Boston, kind of summers of Spain. So my family's from the States. My mom, my dad's from Spain. But typical, like, I guess, like U.S. path growing up. High school, played basketball in high school, went to college. Didn't really know what I wanted to do. Ended up kind of majoring economics, minoring in computer science, got a job as a software engineer, implementing some, I don't know, implementing software. I wrote like SQL for people who are into software languages and stuff like that. And I did that job for a year. About halfway in, I was like, this is not what I want to do. I was looking to the people to the left and the right of me, like, this is not where I want to be in, 10, 20, 30 years. And I don't know if I freaked out a little bit, but I started thinking like, okay, what's something I can enjoy? I just started kind of falling in love with lifting in the gym. So I actually got a personal training certification, quit, became a personal trainer. You don't make too much money as a personal trainer if you're doing it like you're trading your time for hours in person. So I actually went back to I started going part-time personal training, part-time working with that software company, but like from home as a consultant on like a project by project basis, which was actually a really good setup at the time. I didn't know anyone. I guess that was kind of like the beginning of starting to understand I could actually craft what I wanted to do in life. It didn't just have to be like, you just got a computer science degree, so you go do X for the rest of your life. At the time, I was also working on overcoming, I'd say, low self-confidence with women. And then the YouTube was the fusion of all these things, like the software knowledge, the video editing, the video filming editing came very naturally to me. And then the content just started becoming about things I was struggling with fitness or with women, just sharing those experiences. A lot of the early videos were me struggling to approach women in downtown Boston, and those were a lot of the ones that got the channel off the ground. But then since then, as the channel scaled up, I've been, I think, more of my focus has shifted to business, which I think is a natural evolution a lot of people in the content space go through, because it's kind of like the next frontier, the next challenge of personal growth. It's like personal growth on steroids. So that's been the last, I don't know, 3-4 years. The focus has been scaling a few different businesses.
So yeah, man, it's really incredible, right? You're creating content on a massive scale, helping men improve their lives in numerous ways that we'll talk about here today. But you're known on the internet for being somebody who's very confident, somebody who's fit, and a successful business person as well, right? And today, what I really want to talk about is what you've described as the 4 key pillars of success for any young man. But before we do that, we have to talk about the past, and I want to take it all the way back to the beginning, right? And I want to learn what took you from a self-proclaimed, and I'm quoting from one of your videos right now, broke nerd, to a multi-millionaire internet entrepreneur living all across the globe, Spain, United States as well. So I want to learn about your past. I know who you are now, but how did this all begin for you? Take me back to the beginning of the journey.
Okay, how far back? Like the beginning of the self-improvement journey?
Yeah, you know what? On that note, actually, I have something for you.
Are we taking it back to the womb?
No, I'll tell you what we're going to take it back. I have something for you. I have a surprise from you. This is a relic from your past, we might say. Something which maybe some of your viewers are familiar with and some aren't. But it's a book I read recently.
Confidence Hacks.
Called...
Oh, bro, you got the hard copy.
Called Confidence Hacks. You recognize this book?
Oh, bro, of course.
Here, I'll hand it to you.
I haven't had one of my own hard copy books in my hands in a minute, bro.
And there you go, bro. So you recognize the book. This is where I want to start, right? Because there was a time whenever you were publishing self-help confidence hacks books. When was this, right? Like, how did you start all this?
It was definitely like the pain of no female attention. Like through high school, through college. Now I'm, in college, you're living in a dorm. I'm living in a dorm with 7 other guys in like I don't know what you call it. Like there's like the common room, like the offshoot apartments off of that. It's like your sophomore year. I'm hearing people getting laid every night. My friends have these hot girlfriends, and there I am, like too afraid, like paralyzed to even be able to like do anything with women. And that was like the biggest source of pain in my life, I guess. And I just kind of felt like less than these other guys. Like I just felt really shitty about myself. And then I think it must have been like the summer break. Sophomore year to junior year, we went to Spain. We always go to Spain in the summers, like I said. But my cousin, who lives in North Carolina, who his name's Matt, but he's always kind of been a mentor to me. He was working a personal training job before, and that's one of the reasons I got a personal training. But he brought this book that was like one of these early pickup artist books. But it was like when dating advice was just becoming a thing, right? And it was called. It wasn't like The Game. It wasn't one of these Neil Strauss books. It was like called The A Game or something. But we're sitting on the beach in Spain. We're reading this book together because he was struggling some with women as well. And that's when like the idea was planted that like, this is something maybe I can actually change in my life if I kind of implement some of these. Like, some of these things make sense. I just thought, I guess I didn't even think about what I should do when I talked to a girl. And because that was like a mystery, I'm not going to put myself into this mysterious situation where it's just like, I'm just going to get rejected. And then like, I really look like idiots on my friends and roommates in college. So that was the first taste of self-improvement. Got back to school that year. Not going to say I killed it, but I think I lost my virginity that year. Like was able to pull some girls here and there from dirty frat basements. But it was like a conscious process to some extent of like, I'm still me. I just tried to like have a little bit of a system for what I was doing. And now I saw like there's some input and some output. And I think that was like the first taste of self-improvement that got me addicted to like, what else can I change in my life? Amazing.
Well, this is a great segue, right? Because like I said, we want to talk about the 4 key pillars of self-improvement that you've laid out in your own content, right? And one of those 4 that I'm going to go ahead and jump to right now is women in relationships, right? Which you've told a little bit of your story of how you've sort of gone from having essentially no game to a little bit. So talk to me a little bit more detail. Like, how did you develop the skills to become confident around women?
Yeah, so I think, it's a combination of things, but I do think it's always important to business, especially in today's age. There's a little bit of like a black pill movement, you could call it, where there's a lot of guys who are like, not like essentially wouldn't even be worth my time to get better with women because modern women aren't worth it. And it's just like, why put myself through the pain, open myself up to like being cheated on? Like it's not that I'm afraid of doing that. It's that I don't even want that. And again, I think that's a huge story that people are telling themselves, a huge rationalization. I think if we're just honest with ourselves, like biologically, from a physiological level, from how our bodies are like actually built, from how our hormones develop, we can't hide from it. We want women. Like we all dudes want girls, and we want attractive women. That's you can try and talk yourself out of it. So I do think that achieving competence with women, even if it's not the focus of your life, and for some people, maybe they have natural looks, they had some natural status, they were a star athlete growing up, maybe they never really had to think about it, and then they always had the confidence there. But for a lot of guys, and I think it's even a bigger percentage in 2023 when you have things like Instagram, dating apps, where it's really intensified how if you're not like a top 20% guy, a lot of times you feel invisible to women. I think it's really important for guys to like swallow the hard pill. They're like, okay, it's going to be worth my time to figure this out, because not only is my life going to be more enjoyable, but once you have that part of your life, at least for me and for guys I've coached and for friends, once I figured that part of my life out, I had a lot more momentum and a lot more ease tackling other challenges, because I didn't have this deep insecurity like eating away at me, and a lot of the self-doubt was gone.
So how would you rate the average young man's game in 2023?
Pretty bad. I think there's a statistic, right, that I think it was from 2017, the number of men not sexually active tripled. It went from like, I want to say 9% to 27%. And I would imagine that that's been intensified through the continued growth of things like Instagram and dating apps. So I do think that there's maybe a little bit less socialization at those ages, because more socialization happens in an online world. So it's tough, because the regular clients I work with now, probably that the youngest ones are in their early 20s. So it's hard to know exactly what's going on with men in, their teens. But from all the evidence I'd say it's getting rougher and rougher for guys.
I would agree. Do you think, on that note, that men should have a lot of bodies when they're young? Do you think it's good to sleep with a lot of women before you settle down, or not?
This is something that is tough, and I think it's a hot topic now, because I think when I was growing up, it was before the social media age. I think the guys who got a lot of bodies, you kind of looked up to them. It was cool. It was badass. Then things went a bit overboard in the degenerate direction, I think, with these OnlyFans, Instagram, dating apps, and then it became almost absurdly easy to, like, if you have a good dating app profile, bro, and you know how to convert dates into like a girl coming back to your place, it's pretty realistic. You could be getting laid by like 4 or 5 new girls a week, even if you're not super successful or attractive guy. You can just kind of like build out a system. I've seen a lot of guys in our mentorship program do that. I'm not saying that's the right thing to do. I think there's some balance. I don't think that going like balls to the wall, sleeping with like 100 girls is good, because that inevitably takes a level of prioritizing your dating life above every other part of your life, and other things are going to suffer. Again, I think going back to like the word of like having competence with your dating life is probably a happy medium. Now, for some guys where they're going to be a little bit more naturally wired or a little bit more naturally insecure, like myself, where I felt like I did have to sleep with a certain level of women to prove it to myself. I don't think it's good to idolize like you need 100 bodies, bro, or even 50 plus bodies. And I know right now there's also a bit of a reaction against all this, a bit more traditionalist movement coming in, where it's like, you probably just wait for your wife. Like you shouldn't sleep around at all. I don't know that I agree with that extreme either. I think there's a spectrum here. I think it goes down to personal preference, but I think anyone who's navigating to either of the extremes, as is with most things in life, they're like just buying into like a philosophy rather than having some like critical thinking about what makes most sense for me. But I'd say, I mean, we could put a number range on it if you want, but I'd have to think about it a sec, depending on different factors.
So, I mean, on that topic, dude, you're married now, correct? Mm-hmm. How long have you been married?
1 year, almost 1 year.
Right. So, have a beautiful wife. You're married now. Tell me about what that life is like versus the bachelor lifestyle of collecting bodies, as we're talking about.
Yeah. For me, it's better even before I was married, when I was just in the monogamous relationship with a girlfriend who, the big caveat being, she fully supported the things I was doing, which are a bit outside the lines of what was expected. Because when you have that support every day, it makes it a bit easier to mentally cope with difficult situations that come up in business or with money or even with friends or anything, family, right? It helps having like that another person who truly cares about you. It's different though, right? It's different because if I do go on a trip with just the boys, for example, now, which you can still do when you're in a relationship, right? It's not like you're completely giving up that life. maybe, I mean, I'm not sleeping with other women on that trip, but there is also like, I think an importance to like masculine camaraderie, not always having your girl next to you. I think there's like a lot of growth and it brings out a different energy that's also important.
I certainly agree. I believe in brotherhood. That's something that I've struggled with in previous relationships of my own, right? Learning how to sort of establish those boundaries in my life. So how do you balance that, right? Because I mean, you guys travel together, right? You're with your girl all the time. So how do you handle a marriage and be a good husband, but at the same time maintain that brotherhood and that masculine energy that you consider so important?
Yeah, I mean, certainly like simple things like just going to the gym every day, perhaps practicing a martial art, like those like very like fundamentally just like masculine activities. Those can always be there, right? Like, and those things always do support that energy. Also, I think a lot of masculine energy comes just from like constantly facing obstacles and figuring out how you get past that, or failing and like dealing with the failure and being able to bounce back. So always having like different areas in your life where there is some challenge. And right now for me, that's mainly business, if I'm being honest. In the past, maybe it was like dating, right? I think that is a similar type of frontier you have to face. But I think that the risk is you have a lot of guys who maybe they get the hot girl, they're kind of happy with their life, they go into a little bit of autopilot, and then I think that's more where the softness come from than like the girl itself. I think it's like a more like, no, if you're not thinking like what's the next challenge to overcome, you're gonna be soft, bro. Like it's not, you can't. A sword doesn't say he's sharp without sharpening it.
What about open relationships? What do you think about being in open relationships as a man?
People can do whatever the way they want to do, man. I mean, I think there's a lot of angles here, because it depends on the type of open relationships. Are you saying an open relationship where the guy and the girl are open? Because I think a lot of guys also would fantasize about a relationship that's open for them, but not
That's
the girl.
what I'm speaking about, the latter, wherein the man reserves the right to be with whoever he pleases, but he expects his woman to be monogamous to him.
Yeah, so that's something, different people will have different, people that are a little bit more, have more religious faith are probably, that's probably not what they're going to want, because that's kind of goes against, the nuclear family union and things like that. But if that is something you want, the only way you're going to give yourself a chance of having that relationship is by being like a pretty top 1% type dude, because why otherwise, like when you get in a relationship with a girl, there's going to be some degree of having to like put her in her place or set boundaries. And if you're a really average dude and she can walk out the door and she knows she can replace you, and this is going like a really kind of you call it red pill rhetoric. But the point is, in life is about options, right? We all kind of know what's our next best option. That could also be you're working a job. What's your next best option? Obviously, if your job's like, we're just going to cut your salary by 50%. Sorry, bro. If you have nowhere else to go, or your next best option is making 50% less anyway, you're like, fuck, I'm going to have to stay anyway. But if your next best option is to make the same amount you're making, which obviously is an obvious choice, you're going to switch jobs. I don't like to simplify relationships to that type of math, but the principle applies that if you take a girl, if you're an average guy, we'll say, and you tell your girl, hey, I don't want you talking to other men. I don't want you doing X, Y, Z. Let's not even talk about open relationship. Just like some basic boundaries. I don't want you like not talking. It's like hanging out with other men. I wouldn't want you going out to the club with your friends. And the girl doesn't really like think that she couldn't easily replace, or she thinks that she could easily replace you. She's gonna be like, why am I gonna like sacrifice my freedoms for you? No offense. Like, what are you gonna do that another guy couldn't do for me? Now, different situation. You've built yourself up physically, financially, you're confident, and you start telling a girl some of these things that I would say are healthy boundaries. I don't really want you hanging out with other guys. I don't really want you doing like girls trips, going to Vegas or Dubai or whatnot. It's not even that she's going to feel like freedom's being taken away from her. She's going to be like, I really like this guy, and I'm going to follow his lead and kind of trust his decision-making. The point, to bring it back full circle to open relationships, is by that same logic, the only guy that's actually going to be able to set that type of boundary that's even at another level is going to be a guy who's really built himself up to the point where the girl's like, you know what? Maybe that's not the ideal situation, but this guy still provides for me. I still feel loved by him. It still makes sense for me to stay with him, even though from time to time maybe he wants to see another girl. I think the big caveat is like communicate that and be upfront with the girl. Otherwise, you're building a house of cards.
Right. So what it really comes down to is being irreplaceable. Right? Because even if you're in a relationship wherein your significant other has other choices, if none of those choices compare to you, then that sort of nullifies them, right?
Exactly.
And that's sort of part of the overall self-improvement journey, which we're about to get into some of the other pillars for. But to wrap up the sort of women and relationship section, I just want to ask you, right, if I'm watching this video and I'm feeling inspired by David and I want to go meet more women, I'm a young man, right? But I struggle with confidence, or I don't know where to meet these girls, or it's so intimidating, right? What's one thing that I can do this week in order to better put myself in a position to meet women?
I mean, a simple one is if you're in a spot like I was, where you're visibly going to be nervous, or like very apparently going to be nervous when you're talking to an attractive girl, and that's what's going to hold you back. Maybe you feel like, I'm kind of am fit, my style's decent, I'm working on my career, but I'm just like, I just don't feel like I deserve the higher level women. Approach one girl a day. It can be the gym, grocery store, walking down the sidewalk. Doesn't have to be, oh my God, you're so hot, let's hang out. Could just be, hey, I'm sorry, do you know if there's what the time it is? I don't have my watch on me. Or do you know if there's some more spot I can grab Starbucks around here? Or it could be, hey, I really like those shoes. There's some dope shoes. I just want to give you a compliment. And then maybe you can work up to, hey, it's random, but I saw you. I thought you were cute. How's your day going? But
like exposure therapy.
Exactly, exposure therapy.
Just like a cold plunge, like you do 30 seconds the first day, then 45, then a minute.
Yeah.
And before you know it, you see a hot girl in Walmart and you're like, I'm just going to walk up and say whatever I want, right?
And the point's not to like be like a pickup artist who's like sleazily picking up women. The point is you expose yourself, like you said, it's exposure therapy. And now no longer am I shitting my pants when I talk to a hot girl. And now when there's an actual organic opportunity, a really hot girl that lives in my village, she comes in the elevator at the same time as me. I'm working out at the gym, and like a smoking hot girl just happens to be working out next to me. I'm at a party, I get introduced to a friend who's super hot. No longer is like, oh, I'm going to fuck this up. Now that your mind's just like, oh, I have experience with this.
Right.
I'm just going to talk to her.
Makes a lot of sense. Well, look, this isn't a dating show, right? But we're talking about the key pillars of self-improvement, and whether you want to be a pickup artist, which is not the lifestyle that I personally pursued, or you want to find an ideal partner for a committed relationship. Either way, you're going to have to know how to meet people. So I think this is a useful skill, right? But that's only one of the 4 pillars that we'll talk about today in this sort of self-improvement journey that you've talked about. And another one of these is mindset, right? And this plays into all of the other ones. So let's start here. How would you describe your current mindset?
Focused on incremental growth.
Focus on incremental growth. What does that mean? Does that mean like doing the right daily actions for slow growth? Can you expound upon that a little bit?
It means if I can look back every 3 to 6 months and say, you know what I'm currently operating, the bandwidth I'm operating at is noticeably a bit better than it was 3 to 6 months ago, I'm happy with that. That could be applied to a business where maybe it's not only the monthly revenue. Obviously, that's probably one of the main metrics, but perhaps it is, the new products that we've introduced, they have a better ROI with paid advertising than the ones we introduced 6 months ago. It could be looking at YouTube that the average watch time has increased a bit on the videos over the past 6 months, or the views have increased a little bit over the past 6 months. It could be that the metric is going to depend on the thing, but whatever projects I'm working at the time, which right now is mainly the businesses, that they're operating not necessarily at a higher monetary value, but maybe systems have been put in place where they're operating at the same monetary value, but I'm investing 5 less hours a week.
Right. Well, that's really hard in our sort of like instant gratification, social media, TikTok, 3-second scroll life that we live, right? So how did you learn to focus on the daily actions and believe in something that you can't see yet? Or rather, how did you instill the discipline to do the small things without getting distracted by the $100 million or the million beautiful women that you can't see yet?
I've never had these like grandiose aspirations, and maybe that's part of it. Even when I got started on YouTube and this stuff, my mindset was, if I can like make a living for this without having to like work a regular job for someone else, even if that's $80K a year, not that that's like pennies, but obviously making a lot more than that now. But even if it's at that level, like I was already going to be happy. I got into it because I enjoyed the process of making videos, and I wanted to actually impact like other guys' lives going through the thing. Like at that point, it was literally, even if I was getting 5 comments on a video, if one of the comments was like, hey brother, tried this yesterday, I really noticed that it helped me out. Like I was really happy with that. So I think it's a really easy thing to be like, well, focus on like internal motivation versus like extrinsic rewards and things like that. But for whatever reason, I've never cared that much about the carrot at the end of the stick.
Right.
I don't know if I can give a reason like why or how that came to be, but I mean, part of it probably is that I did not grow up in poverty, so I never was in like a survival mode. At the same time, I never grew up around like crazy wealth, so maybe that's why I never cared about having the crazy level of wealth. Yeah, I just kind of wanted to be doing something cool that I could kind of each day be like, you know, I had a good day today. It wasn't crazy stressful, but like I feel like I made some progress in something I'm working on.
Right. So instead of focusing on sort of these grandiose material objectives, you just picked something you were passionate about and made sure that you were getting a little bit better at it or helping one more person each day. Is that a good way to summarize it?
Yeah, essentially. My end goal is to be able to be doing something I like, making videos, and that was what was supporting me. It wasn't a monetary amount. It wasn't a number of subscribers. It wasn't anything other than if I can, you know, support myself doing something I think is cool and is helping other guys, because that's something that, you know, was painful for me, I'm cool with it.
Beautiful. Keep it simple.
Yeah.
What are your daily habits to stay locked into this mindset, right? Like, what's the David daily routine look like now?
So I think I mentioned cold shower, a little morning walk to get going. After that, I very, very simple productivity system where I just have like a list on my iPhone of like the next action steps for each of the businesses. And I'll kind of just, once I do those morning things, I'll just dial in and I get satisfaction, I guess, from kind of checking things off that list. That changes because we have a lot of different businesses and the YouTube channel. Like the nature of each day can be a little different, because if it's, I'll tend to have like a week or a month where, okay, the focus right now, you know, is Edge Lifestyle. We have a job coming up. We need to get the marketing materials done. I need to be kind of the glue between the ad agency marketing team we work with, between the guys that are going to be doing the product photos, the guys who are setting up the website, making sure the logistics of the items are arriving on time, which I probably got to check that after this. We should have ordered that's available for pickup at the port today. But I'll kind of work like in big pushes. So like, you know, the next few weeks we're pushing for Edge. Okay. Then it could be like, all right, let's breathe for a second for a couple of days, maybe not make a push for anything. All right. The Beastly app, the app. All right, we got to get that next update out. Let me talk with the developers. Let's start working on like the videos to promote the new update. Let's make the push on that.
Right.
So yeah, I kind of work like in waves, I guess, because it's multiple things I'm balancing.
Right. I mean, you run multiple businesses, so you're essentially saying that you operate in sprints, right? Which is something that anybody who's an entrepreneur watching this video is going to be able to relate to immediately. Exactly what you just said, like, oh, well, for a while I do this thing, for a while I do this thing. But it seems like from consuming your content that your daily habits, as far as like the frameworks of how your time is laid out, stays pretty consistent. At the same time, though, we see you at the pool, at the beach all the time, right? And it looks like you live a really enjoyable lifestyle. So how much do you deviate from sort of like the core disciplined lifestyle?
Well, luckily, there's some value for me going to the ocean or going to the pool or even building a house, in the sense that it helps create content.
Right.
And some content, some people are more, I know not to mention names, we were talking about some people before the show, some people flex a little harder than others, but regardless, obviously, to sell, because even if what I'm trying to sell someone, and it's not even a product on a YouTube video, even if what I'm trying to sell someone is, hey man, you really should try out these few things. They're really going to help your life. And that's what the sale is. You have to sell people the end result to some extent. So showing, and again, the way I show my luxurious lifestyle might not be as crazy as some other people's, but that's what my ideal lifestyle is. And perhaps I'm marketing more to people who their ideal lifestyle is having the freedom to be able to jump in the ocean and do a backflip into the pool in the afternoon. And also because I work in sprints also during the day, if the first 3 days, first 3 hours a day, I'm like head down grinding, going and jumping in the cold sea in Marbella in the Mediterranean, that also can act as like a mental reset. That would be a different habit as well. It's like I guess I'll do the morning cold shower. Sometimes I'll do the afternoon cold plunge to kind of like just like decompress for a minute. All right, let's get back in the lab and keep working.
I think people need to see that because they need to break out of this mindset wherein they are conflating sitting at a desk with deserving to make money and deserving to be successful, right? And we can look at someone like you and see a lifestyle that is designed to be profitable the entire day, but not all of those activities are you sending fucking emails or, responding to customer DMs. So I think that's very interesting. And of course, that's like the magic of content creation in some ways as well. Let me ask you this though, because this is a hot topic, right? And every time I post about this, it gets a lot of angry engagement. So what substances do you use? Do you drink? Do you smoke? Like, what do you do?
Okay, so let's start with caffeine.
Okay.
For me, it's pre-workout. Well, okay, that changed. It used to only be pre-workout caffeine because I just like feeling cracked out when I'm at the gym. Yeah, but then at some point, like days I don't lift now, I'll have a Starbucks or if we're in Spain, I'll make a coffee at home. Not too many Starbucks around where I'm at because it helps you work like a little bit harder, a little bit more focused. I'm not someone who have caffeine twice a day. Like, I don't know, bro, unless I had to like do like a midnight podcast night with someone, then maybe I go take a nap and take a caffeine after that. But I'm like caffeine once a day, and that and it's like regular dose of caffeine, 100 milligrams, 200 milligrams, nothing crazy. Trying to think other substances. Okay, alcohol is the obvious one.
How often?
It depends. We're in Miami now. Me and my wife are going out to dinner each night. I probably have one drink with each dinner. I've had one margarita the last 2 nights. When I was in Austin last week.
I saw your Instagram story, bro. I saw it.
Big margarita guy. Austin last week, we were seeing friends. So a few days, maybe I ended up having 2 margaritas a couple nights. I don't like, first of all, I sleep worse when I drink a lot. I wake up a little bit more tired. I've never been someone, okay, college being the exception because that's like you're surrounded by it where I'd get like really drunk.
Yeah. I mean, that was that. Remove that from the equation. I did the same thing at that age.
Yeah. Other than college, as soon as I graduated, even when I was going out with my friends trying to hit up the bars in Boston, I'd have like the social casual drink. I've never been someone who like alcohol has been my my substance of choice. Like it's the greens, the weed, the marijuana, right? That's been more of a vice for me in the past. But even so, at the times, and that's not something that I do every day or necessarily every week even. But even at the times, because there have been some times when I have been over the past few years where I've been super productive and everything's been going well and I have used that more. Even at those times, it would always be kind of like a reward at the end of the night to wind down and go to sleep. It would never be something I would touch if there was a single task that had to be completed productively, right? That would be like the turn off my mind switch, if anything, because my mind is fucking, I can't turn it off sometimes. But there's downsides to that. I think you use that if you can start to really feel like you need it at the end of the day. I know there's studies that you can affect your REM sleep. I think it probably depends how close to bedtime you consume it. But that's been more my vice of choice, even though anything, I mean, not anything, but I think in moderation, that's been my experience with it. I will say it's something that in college I used, but then when I got really started on this like initial stages after college, we're talking about of quitting the job, trying to figure out where I was going. For some years, completely didn't touch it because I think it's a one that's tough on the mindset. If your mind's not in a strong place and you're trying to really form positive habits, I think that it's one that can cause a lot of self-doubt. It cause you to overthink a lot of things or even rethink decisions you've already made and committed to. And if you're in a really strong place mentally, I think sometimes I think something like Rogan will talk about, but it's even something that will maybe like bring out the demons, make you second guess things from different angles in a positive way. But when your mind's not like rock solid and you're in a more like fragile mental place, you gotta stay away from it.
Rogan talks about like he loves that it makes him scared.
Yeah. But he's in a strong mental place.
But
I think
I
take someone who's like fragile and that happens. Not I'm saying you're fragile, but some people, you take it and you have this big plan for everything you do the next day and everything's going.
And then you're like,
fuck, should I break up with her?
Oh my God.
Man, is this business, like stop doing this business? Like you can go crazy.
Yeah, no, 100%. So the reason I asked this, right, is because I've been through a lot of phases in life, right? When I was in college, dude, I was probably drinking 4 times a week and we were getting hammered.
Dude. Yeah, you're right. It's Tuesday night, maybe Sunday, Monday, you don't drink. They're like, it's Tuesday, bro. We got to get out for Tuesday.
Which is insane because as I reflect on it, I was probably operating at like maximum 50% capacity at any time, even whenever I was sober, because there's never more than 3 days in between, right? Yeah. I spent many years, even part of the time whenever I had, become an entrepreneur and started making a lot of money on the internet, smoking weed too, right? Every day for years. I quit everything though, right? And the reason why I did that is because to me, it's the most surefire way to make sure that I am always doing the right things. But here's the part that people don't want to hear, right? The really shitty reality of it is that the number one most important factor outside of whatever substances you're consuming is your personal character and your self-control, right? Because I know, and so do you, because of your stature online, a lot of these people that are really big on the internet, super rich entrepreneurial guys, in person, off camera. And you wouldn't believe some of the people who are huge closet stoners, right? Who are, and you would not believe some of the people who are huge closet stoners.
Yes, you definitely can't say like, because there's people who are like, you got to give everything up. It's the only way to success. Equally, I've seen too many examples that would disprove that in the flash of a second. But at the same time, I think it's undeniable. This is what I was saying, especially when I was at that crucial turning point. There's some crazy benefit from giving everything.
100%. But listen, like, I am a very firm believer in like integrating discipline in all facets of your life. I used to think the whole, stop smoking, stop drinking, get up every day at 6 a.m., do your morning routine. I used to think that was sort of all like frivolous bullshit because I was overconfident by the fact that I had, made my first big bag on the internet. I was like, oh, and I did all this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter. And then I decided to make a change, right? For one reason or another. And I can say just personally.
How come though? How come you made the change?
Well, for a number of reasons, right? I didn't like how I looked when I looked in the mirror.
So fitness was part of it.
Fitness, which we'll get into in just a second here. I quit smoking just because literally I just had a bad experience. One of my good friends, who I'm actually flying out to Miami tomorrow as a surprise for his birthday. He does not know, but by the time this video comes out, he'll already been here. Gave me an edible, like a homemade edible, when I was at his apartment, and I didn't even know, right? And I was sitting here on this couch and I was like, dude, I feel kind of, and he thought I was joking. He was like, what do you mean? You just took an edible? And I was like, because I fucking hate edibles, right?
Yeah, man, it's a game of its own.
I hate edibles. So anyway, so I had a really crazy experience. And so I stopped smoking weed. So this sort of like natural, semi-accidental thing happened where I basically quit every single substance.
For different reasons.
And then that, I believe, naturally pointed me towards getting all my other shit as optimized as possible. So I really dialed in my morning routine. I've had the pleasure of getting to know gentlemen like Gary Brecco, who just came on the channel and was at Capital Club with us in Spain. By the way, we were like a few hours away from you.
Yeah, we almost made it happen there.
Yeah. And listen, man.
One thing you just mentioned though, because I think this is like it's something that I realized even recently. When you allow yourself to like indulge in one bad habit, a lot of times, okay, let's say you smoke some weed.
Yeah.
There's a lot of times like, maybe watch a little porn and jerk off too. Maybe I'll have a little drink. Maybe I'll play a little video games tonight too. Maybe I'll sleep a little bit less. Like it's very easy once you rationalize one thing to rationalize the next few. And by the same logic, I even realized, because recently I started doing the morning walks, which I never did as part of my morning routine.
Fucking amazing.
Because Huberman talking about all these studies of like sun gazing in the morning. For those of y'all who don't know, it's just like I guess it leads to a hormonal
resets your circadian rhythm in the morning.
Yeah, where it helps your cortisol levels, it helps you sleep better at night. But as soon as I did that, the next few days I was in the mindset, what other like what other positive changes can I make to my life? Is there any other habits I should be doing? And the same thing will happen. And I know that's why a lot of people like just wake up at 6 a.m. Just do nothing else. Just wake up at 6 a.m. Because immediately you do that, you wake up, you're like, I got to do something good with this time.
So here's what I believe, right? Like, and here's what I would ask before we sort of continue on from this topic. Everybody watching this video is like, what would happen if you actually did the things you told yourself you were going to do, right? Because if I say I'm going to wake up at 6 a.m. tomorrow, and I'll sleep till 10 a.m. Okay, cool. What if I establish as soon as I wake up, I can't trust myself, right? If I can't control what I'm putting in my mouth, what I'm eating, right? Like how am I going to control my path to $10 million on the internet, right? And on the flip side, right?
That's literally what self-confidence is.
That's what it is.
It's having a belief that your future self can execute on things that intentions you've set out. And this comes up a lot in dating, and I bring it back to dating, but whenever I'm talking to a guy, he's like, well, I didn't, approach the girl because this, or this. I'm like, it's all right, but you have to realize if you're not building the habit of approaching girls, like when there's an attractive girl and that makes sense to approach her, you're literally building the habit of not
doing it.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
it's not like it's just a neutral thing. It's a positive or it's a negative.
Right. But so let's flip it on its head. What if I say I'm going to get up at 6 a.m. tomorrow and I get up at 6 a.m. tomorrow? Okay. Oh, I can actually trust myself, right? One win under my belt, right? And you accumulate those all throughout the day for days and days and days. Now, all of a sudden, if I say I'm going to do something, I know I'm going to do it.
and life starts to become a video game all of a sudden. And I just start picking things that I'm going to do the next day because I know I can trust myself to execute on it, right? Same thing with approaching women, for example, right? Like if you've done it 100 times, you and I could walk outside right now. I mean, you're a dating coach, so you're the expert, right? And you have a wife. So this is totally hypothetical, but I'm sure if you were like, oh, I'm going to go up and do it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I think it's just about learning to trust yourself at the end of the day. And everybody has their sort of own different like methodologies. And I'm not telling everybody watching this video to quit. Do whatever the fuck you want, right? It's helped me a lot. And
you got to start somewhere though.
You have to start somewhere, right?
I always say small steps lead to medium steps, lead to big steps. Meaning just going to the gym 3 times a week. No, it's not going to change your life, bro. It's not. Maybe in 3 months, your physique looks a little better. But maybe that gives you the momentum to now when you do see a girl, like, I feel a little more confident in myself. Now all of a sudden you're also starting to talk to some girls. And maybe now for 3 months, you're working out, you're starting to talk to some girls. Now you're like, you know what? I think I could actually quit the job and do that other job that I'm wanting to do. Now all of a sudden, these small steps already led to a medium step. Before you know it, I'm going to move where I'm at. I'm going to start this business, and nothing doesn't seem like a big deal anymore. Even though when you have no momentum, the thought of like, bro, like start like a supplement company, like that couldn't happen for me.
Exactly. And that's kind of how I would frame all 4 of these pillars that we talk about today is there's sort of these building blocks for your persona, because I believe that in order to change your life, you have to change the individual, right? So if I start doing small things on a daily basis, because we are what we do, right? Like if I go to the gym every single day, I'm a gym guy, right? Like if I write every day, I'm a writer. So
a lot of it starts also with like just how we groom and dress ourselves. Like you got a fresh haircut, bro. You got a swaggy outfit. I get the Prada shoes on, the white on, white, you got the nice watch on. But I'm saying like a lot of people have a lot of resistance to changing how they dress. I see this in some of the guys we mentor, and that's the easiest way to change your identity, though. If you like, I'm going to explicitly make it not. I'm not going to wear this because it's what's in my closet or what like my friends wear or what I wore back when I was in college. Like, no, I'm actually going to start to look at my wardrobe as something deliberate. The second you do that, I think that's one of the easiest ways to change your identity. Because now you're going to look in the mirror and actually physically see a different guy. Especially if you change the haircut and the outfit, the beard, whatever it is. Like that's the easiest way to see such a big change in it could be overnight, literally overnight.
Anybody can do it, bro. Yeah. You know what's so funny? My girlfriend every single week, every time I go get a haircut, because I go in this morning, he's like, "You just got one 4 days ago, 5 days ago." I know it's been 5 days. I gotta go. Like I'm gonna be on camera today. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, when we're going, yeah, you gotta tell me your barber here because I went some random guy yesterday. It's not bad fade, but it's not the fade I'm used to getting. So you have to let me know.
I'll give you my guy. I'll give it down the street.
I come through Miami enough, so
yeah. So it's literally right down the street. But yeah, it's huge, bro, and it's super simple. How you dress and getting a good haircut will sort of change everything. But a super critical component is also the body, right? And that's the third pillar, body and fitness. That's what I want to talk about because you are, among other things, I mean, we won't call you a fitness influencer, but you are an influencer who's known for fitness and being in really good shape, right? And it's part of what you do. Have you always been like shredded and in good shape or no?
I was really scrawny for most of my life. I never can say I was like chunky or overweight, but like growing up, I was like no muscle mass. I have a bit of a thinner frame. I think I always felt a bit weaker than other guys because of that.
Do you think that's do you think getting into good shape, whether that is getting really buff or getting, really shredded or both, right? Do you think that that's like a critical part of becoming a high value man?
Yeah. I mean, let's be real. If you look in the mirror and you look like shit, like how are you going to trust yourself to do anything you say? Like, obviously there are successful people who look like shit. But I think it's almost an obligatory step when you're like, if you're someone who's like, if you're watching this, you're probably someone who's like trying to craft your own comeback story. You're trying to you get a lot of momentum in your life. Like it's the easiest thing you can do, bros. And maybe it's not easy. It might take, it's relatively straightforward. It's going to take some consistency, but like, because all of a sudden you look in the mirror and you're someone who's been overweight your whole life. You're like, oh, I'm thin. My clothes are fitting better. What is that going to lead you to thinking? What can I fucking do next? I was able to change that. If you guys have been scrawny your whole life like me, and you're looking after the gym shirtless, you're like, oh man, I got a little something shoulder popping out here, man. Like it leads to an insane level, like we're talking about, of like trusting yourself. Versus if you're just like, you wake up, you look in the mirror, you look like shit. Like, how are you really going to trust yourself to do anything?
This is such a good topic, man, because I am of the mind.
I'm curious, but you told me you gave up like the alcohol. Obviously, your body wasn't where you wanted it to be. Like now, I haven't seen you with your shirt off, but like your clothes fit well. Like, you tell me.
It's crazy. It is so crazy how much faster I was able to transform the physical composition of my body by making like a few small changes in my life. Like literally just
So giving up alcohol, what else?
giving up alcohol, committing to intermittent fasting, switching to a really simple whole food based diet, and eating a gram of protein per pound of my body weight. Like literally that simple, and cutting down on carbs a lot. I'm not like full keto, but close, like typically under about like 50 grams of carbs per day. And I try not to like, I'm not a nutritionist, right? And I don't want to get on camera and like position myself as some, you're more of an expert than I am, I'm sure. But like, it was honestly so crazy how much faster it was than I thought it was going to be. And what's really, I'll show you pictures after this. What's crazier, dude, is when I look back at pictures from like a year or two ago, right? Wherein I was in the same position probably as many people watching this video who like, I considered myself healthy. I was doing the normal things, right? Like, oh, I didn't eat out too much. Oh, I also retired from fast food forever. That's the other thing that people always get really pissed when I say on Twitter. People will fight tooth and nail to defend these corporations that are making $1 trillion off of poisoning them. Different subject. Point is, I look back at pictures from like a year ago when I was doing all these normal things and I'm like, oh my God.
Well, I'm sure even just in your face.
I look like shit.
Yeah.
And not only that, bro, from simply doing these things, this has never happened to me before in my life. In the past couple months, I was home because my mom was moving houses. I'm from Oklahoma. I was in Tulsa.
Okay.
3 separate family members of mine who are on like separate sides of the family, like don't talk to each other, right? Completely unprovoked. Were like, you look younger. Like, what have you been doing? And I was like, oh my God, I guess like maybe I kind of do. You know what I mean? So,
you know, when you start to get the comments, it's like, it's just the best positive reinforcement.
and it snowballs, right?
And everyone who's made a commitment to fitness has seen that positive reinforcement from other people.
And
like,
it leaks into every single other part of your life, right? And it informs your sort of self perspective on everything else that you do, right? Because I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but you probably feel like after going through a drastic physical change, right, and getting in really good shape, like, oh, you know, what else can I do? You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, again, I think from achieving competence with fitness and then for dating, that was really what primed my mind to do the YouTube and the business stuff, because it became a game. I think you mentioned that a minute ago, but that became a game. Like, what's the next level of the game? Right. I get to decide. Right.
And that's what people don't understand, man. It's like all of these, when you take out all of the like really cheap dopaminergic sort of triggers that are in your life, like maybe you don't scroll TikTok so much, maybe you stop eating whatever the food is.
Yeah.
The simple things that you used to think sucked can become really fun, right? Like how many steps can I get? Like, oh, how high can my sleep score get? Things of this nature. Anyway, I'll shift the conversation back to you, right? So there's been in the past, I want to say probably 5 years among the fitness influencer community, I would say, at least from my perspective, a lot more sort of public talking about testosterone use, peptide use, TRT, things of this nature. What's your take on, you know, testosterone and TRT use in general? Do you think it's something that is like a good option for most men, for some men? Like, what's your perspective?
So I'm on TRT, right? I've done videos about it. I wouldn't have done it as soon as I did if it wasn't for kind of wanting to like, I know we're talking about like levels of a video game, kind of wanting to like document that journey on YouTube. And it's easy for me to sit here and say that. Some people are like, whatever excuse you make, you did what you did. That's fine. I think that it's something that if you're getting your levels tested, which most men don't, it doesn't hurt to get blood work done. Not even for your test level. Something else might be out of whack. You don't even know.
I just did it for the first time like a few months ago.
Yeah. And how old are you now?
I'm 25.
Okay, earlier than I ever got blood work done. But I think like it's not a bad, maybe get it at 25, then get it again at 30, and then after that, maybe every 2 years or something, right? Just to like start, just to monitor your health, but when it comes to hormone levels, to start to see. And obviously, if like obvious lifestyle factors are messed up, like you really don't sleep that much, your diet is really bad, you don't work out at all, like it may have nothing to do with needing TRT. You might just need to sleep more. Like that's the biggest culprit, I think. They've done studies that like with young men, when they sleep deprive them to 5 hours of sleep per night, after 1 week, their test levels already dropped like 25% or something, right? Like it's like pretty strong correlation to sleep. But let's say you're doing those things and you're in your 30s now and you're feeling a lot more naturally tired and you get your levels tested and they're below where they should be. Well, like you're going to feel a lot better if you get on tests. I'm not going to recommend anyone. I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to recommend anyone, hey, you should do it. But it is going to make a big difference. So I think it's good people are more honest about it. Obviously, like the previous generation of fitness influencers were pretty deceptive. And I think a lot of the ones that even started then and have persisted into the current time are holding on to like an old lie they told. And I mean,
You and I are thinking about the same person or people.
I know a lot of people personally and not personally, and so I've seen. And you know people as well. From the inside, it's like more blatant than most people would think it was from the outside. Luckily, more people are honest about it now than they used to be, and I think because of that, we have like some baselines established about what is achievable naturally, and versus like when someone has shoulders that just look like super round and they're lean, like. It's like the most obvious way, and it's like this weird dry look to them. It's like there's just a different way the muscles look naturally versus when there's some additional things being used.
I mean, dude, I think if you're honest and forthcoming about it, it does not matter. I think that what's harmful is lying about it, right? Because then you're sort of convincing young men and women that like, oh, I can look like this if I just, you know what I mean? And it's like chasing this sort of invisible dragon that's never going to happen.
I agree, but I also, because I've gotten heat from different people who've made like kind of like hit piece videos on me, and then the argument they would make is, okay, yes, it's good to be honest about it, but now you're also normalizing the use of it, and younger kids are gonna like want to use it. That's why every time I do a video, I'm like, look, the downsides I've had have been this, this, and this, and also look, maybe my heart gets fucked up in 20 years because I've been doing this, so I wouldn't do it if I were you.
Yeah, that's your consequence though, and also like. Dude, that's like the same thing as the argument for like when parents get mad at artists for putting out songs with cuss words. Like, don't let your kids listen to it. Like, you know what I mean?
Personal responsibility. Like, it's a simple concept. But.
Right. But people want to absolve themselves of personal responsibility and like point the finger at the person with the million subscribers or the big business online. Anyway, yeah, man, I think it's super important. And before we sort of segue off this topic, there was one question that I wanted to ask you because this is something that I have strong opinions about. A little non sequitur. What is your opinion on the concept of fat shaming?
So, I mean, I think we just live in a soft world, man. We're like, but fat shaming, I guess it's, I don't know, if you fast forward 10 years ago and you said fat shaming, it would probably be like someone like, this fucking fat piece of shit. Like you're like yelling at him to his face. And at some point it became like posting photos of your physique looking good is now like indirectly fat shaming because people are going to feel bad about their bodies. But like, bro, the number one killer in the world is cardiovascular disease. And like the main causes of that are like obesity and poor diet and lack of physical exercise. So it's like, it'd be like heroin use shaming or something. You know, like obviously, bro, like, it's bad for you. It's going to fuck you up. Like, I mean, like, it's like the same thing.
Misery loves company, man. That's all I'm going to say about that. Let's get into
but it's heroin, bro. Like,
let's get into the fourth pillar. You and I think exactly the same about this. Let's get into the fourth pillar, right? Everyone's favorite one, especially watching this channel, money, right? We all want to get rich. You own what, 4 businesses? 5?
I mean, it depends how you define it. I guess YouTube in itself is a business because I advertise my business on there. There's some degree of ad revenue. You get paid brand deals, so that'd be 1. You have Edge Lifestyles, the clothing brand. It's the longest physical business I've done. 2. 3 would be Gains Club, the newer supplement company that's starting to get a little traction little by little. 4 would be the Beastly app. It's a fitness app, like subscription based. That's kind of like the cash cow, I'd say, just based on digital fulfillment.
Yeah, so you are a fitness influencer.
And then number 5 would be it's called the Beast Dating Coaching Program. It's like a men's mentorship program.
God, that's a lot to me. Okay, I want to just from a personal perspective, I want to dissect and jump into like how big these teams are and how you're managing this because I'm like. I run 2 core businesses and I'm like fucking scattered all over the place. But before we get into this, and you can give as approximate of a number as you want, but I have to ask because people watching this video are going to be wondering, like approximately how much is your business portfolio bringing in per year right now?
It changes a lot because there's a lot of growth happening. I'd want to say we're bringing in maybe 400 to $500,000 in revenue per month between the different businesses. But that's revenue, obviously. And some of the businesses like Edge, for example, are like cost heavy. So that I don't know on the yearly basis because things have developed pretty well year over year. But yeah, that's I guess extrapolate.
Few $100,000 per month in profit. It sounds
Yeah.
huge. And it's all, these companies are all owned by you entirely?
The supplement brand is a partnership with a guy who owns several other supplement brands. The coaching program is, I guess I'm like majority owner, but there is a profit share there with a partner I have with that. But for the fitness app, for Edge and for YouTube, yeah, those are just owned by me. Yeah.
How hard was it to become the type of person that can manage 6 businesses? How did you get here?
I mean, I did a really shitty job of it for a while, man, where I just was like berating my girlfriend, like hating myself, like not hiring employees or not knowing how to hire employees, like, you know, trusting people without vetting them. I made a lot of mistakes. Not that I figured it all out now, but at least now I do feel a little bit in a better place in terms of like the systems that have been built and the people that are in charge of different things. But it's still a learning process, obviously.
It's fucking hard, man. That's something that, because there's a lot of people who watch this channel who are trying to build businesses of their own, right? And I think that we very often obsess with like the finished product because there's like survivorship bias, right? Like the guys that you see on YouTube or the ones that you see on Instagram ads are the one out of like 10,000 who tried and were successful.
Yep.
But we don't often get to hear about the really hard, shitty like years that led to that period of success. Did you ever want to quit on the entrepreneurship journey?
For sure. Like, okay, we went through the period of self-publishing these ebooks, right? And then there was a time after that, though, where like it started to become a little bit more competitive market. More other people figured out the hustle. I mean, I was openly sharing it out. I'm sure there's other people just independently figured it out as well. Mm-hmm. And then I was almost like breaking even for 2 or 3 years where like I wasn't doing YouTube yet, but I was like the blog. I tried a podcast with my buddy at the time, and I wasn't seeing like, it wasn't like I was losing money, but I was basically like paying my bills and the amount I had saved up was staying the same. And there was a period where I applied for a couple of software jobs, actually. Thank God none of them like hit me back up. It was like 2 like jobs that I was like, these would be cool jobs to have. Didn't hit me back up. And then that was right before that was the end of 2016. And that's when I said to myself, I'm going to do YouTube for a year. I'm not going to be worried about monetizing this year. I have enough stashed up with my somewhat frugal living in downtown, like a small studio apartment downtown Boston. I'll survive. If I do YouTube for this 1 year and it doesn't materialize in anything, I'm going to go back to the software world. But I gave myself a year that was when I made the commitment of two uploads per week that have not missed a single week since then. I think there's been 2 weeks where we've done the 3rd upload, but never missed the 2 uploads.
Consistency, baby. You said a word, frugal, right? Yeah. This is something I wanted to ask you about. As a business owner who's bringing in a lot of money, right? You're essentially making like a lawyer's salary per month. Are you
well, it's not all. I mean, a lot of it stays in the businesses.
Okay,
right?
okay.
It's not all like paid out to me personally. Yeah.
Are you? It's good. It's very good for you to clarify. Yeah. Are you a saver or a spender?
I've always been a saver. At some level, you start to be like, okay, I'm going to fly like business class when I'm going back and forth between the States and the US because I'm going to be more well rested and I have to like operate when I get there. At some level, you're like, okay, I'll pay $100,000 for the car because like relative, it's like still well living below my means. Even with the houses we've built, like, then they're expensive houses, but like if I really wanted to put more on the line, you know, I'll always be like, ooh, if I could afford to do this, like let's maybe divide that by 4 and then like go somewhere in that range. I know that's the random number off the top of my head. That's not an equation, but like the point is, I still like to kind of live below my means, and I still believe in delayed gratification in the sense that I'm like, well, now at the level of money we're making, I could own, you know, that property here and a property in Spain, right. 2 Lambos here, 3 Lambos. But I'm like, no, I just don't want to do that.
I'm really glad you said that because this is like almost a foreign concept to this new generation of internet money kids, right? Because from a branding perspective, it does pay dividends as an influencer to drive the supercar and to have 50 watches and all this shit. But I think it can be damaging, especially to young men who are trying to live both lifestyles, right? Because when you're starting a business on the internet and you're like trying to figure your shit out, you have to be reinvesting for like a while. And if you start fucking off that initial money immediately, like you're going to be one of, you know, a million similar stories, right? And I've seen it happen all the time. And I moved to Miami now, right?
Of course,
And
bro, this is probably the worst spot in the world in terms of this
Bro,
culture.
I mean,
By far.
rented supercars everywhere.
Yeah.
I can't go to dinner with my girlfriend for less than like $250 for two people. Like it's everywhere in the lifestyle. But I think it's important for us to get on camera and have a conversation about like the real shit, which is that it is important to live within your means. And depending on what sort of beliefs that you subscribe to, I am personally of the mind that it's going to take a lot more money to not be fucked in the not so distant future with the direction that things are heading than most people think, right? And I think that even worse than having been broke your whole life is to make a bunch of money and waste all of it and be broke again. So on that note, like, what do you think the biggest misconceptions are about becoming wealthy?
Well, I think on the influencer note, because that is kind of like what everyone wants to do, right? And I feel like Instagram has just corrupted our society. And obviously you got to like capitalize on what the game is. But like, I feel like the last 10 to 20 years of the culture is just like gotten like more and more degenerate and like not good for people's overall well-being. But that being said, I think there's like, look, people with a Lambo or people that have taken a bunch of steroids and have like the craziest looking body, like, yeah, 10 years ago, you took a bunch of steroids, had a crazy looking body. You can move some fitness program. You can move them. I can scroll through my feed. I can scroll and see 1,000 right now, new crazy jacked fitness influencers I've never seen it before. That's not gonna, I mean, I'm not gonna say it's gonna hurt, but that's not gonna, being jacked or buying a supercar or renting a crazy villa, like that's not gonna be the reason you're successful unless maybe, I don't know, it's basically not, unless maybe you have some like crazy ad strategy that you leverage that I've never heard of. But I think it's going to be a lot more realistic path to be successful through the influencer route, to just be like real and relatable and own your failures and mistakes. At least that's how I've done it, and been just like very transparent about everything from the TRT to whatever, I don't know, whatever other question we want to talk about, past relationships. But I think that's a lot more rare, and that makes you stand out a lot more than the Lambos or the steroid body. I'm sure there's other examples that I'm not thinking of, but I think that those things can definitely help, because the younger generation does aspire for those things. But like, I built my audience up to 1 million subscribers with at first I was riding a bicycle around downtown Boston. Then me and Julia moved down to Texas, driving her old Jetta that like broke down on the way down there. We lived in a 1-bedroom apartment in Austin. Once the Jetta like completely stopped functioning, I bought an Audi that was like used, a few years old, like, I don't know, it was maybe $30K, but like I got well over 1 million subscribers and launched all these businesses with that. Like, it didn't take some crazy flexing to make it happen. So it's not needed. And then I do think when you have the money to do things, delayed gratification keeps the sword sharp as well. Like, not don't let yourself feel like you made it.
And it keeps the game going, right? Yeah. Like, you gotta have, if you have everything, then what are you working for? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I think that's really interesting, man. And I like a point that you made, which is that like, it kind of doesn't even matter anymore, especially being here, dude. Like,
you're just sensitized.
I don't even want, so here's the thing, like, where I grew up in Oklahoma, like, okay, if I took a McLaren to Tulsa, where I'm from, right, like a $300,000 supercar, I would be like, people would be like, who is that?
Yeah.
I'd probably be the only one in the city, right?
Yeah.
Here in Miami,
it's like downstairs. I'm sure there's a Urus, there's a Cullinan.
It doesn't even matter, bro. Like, in the world at large, and in all the places where you're going to end up once you actually get a little bit of money, like, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't set you apart.
It doesn't. I could go buy a skeleton AP for 150 grand and go get a Urus for 230, pull up downstairs in this apartment,
now you got
get
the
out.
Starter pack.
No one gives a fuck.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, because guess what? I can rent the supercar. And on that topic, bro, if you really want a Lambo or something, like, it's not that hard to afford it. It's hard to be able to responsibly afford it, right? So like, if I really want to finance a Urus for like $3,000-$4,000 a month, I'll have, you know what I mean? And I just live somewhere shitty. Like, I can do it and live paycheck to paycheck. I'm making $10,000 a month, but it's stupid. Be ignorant, right? And I think it's important that we have some discourse around like not like the real shit that happens whenever you make money, which is that like it's still real life and it is important to save money. And
there's a spectrum too.
There's a spectrum.
Because you have people who are like, whenever you get money, just you only put it in real estate or stocks. Like you don't need to own a car, you don't need to own a house. Like it's like, but you did earn all that money, and you do want to enjoy it a little bit.
Yeah, but I sit in the middle.
Yeah.
I sit in the
middle.
middle.
No, I would agree. There's like, no, you got to get the next supercar. You got to get the bigger house. No, well, fuck, the neighbor got to get the bigger house. Now, like, obviously, that's the one extreme. The other extreme was what I was talking about. You have to like optimize every penny. Which, let's be real, when you make a certain amount of money, yeah, it's annoying to pay $300 for dinner for two people, but it doesn't really matter. Like the scale, the same way, like you can work your way up to, I don't know. Yeah, I lost my train of thought.
No, it's fine. I understand exactly what you're saying, right? I think, I sit somewhere in the middle, right? Like I could never be like a Graham Stephan type wherein
he's like one of the very optimizers.
I think it's ludicrous to be making, like tens of millions of dollars a year and to refuse to go get a coffee at Starbucks because you're like,
or he drives like the Model 3, like the cheapest Tesla. And like, fine, I think he does. And if he wants to drive,
it's his brand.
Yeah, it's his brand. It's his brand.
It makes him more money to do that.
Yeah.
That's his brand. But at the same time,
it's kind of boring at some level.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the objective for me is to make enough money, make so much money that you can do the things that for the average person are out of reach.
Yeah.
But do it like within reason. Do you know what I mean? Like I would never buy a yacht. Like shit like that is stupid.
Private jet.
Yeah. But
I agree. I would never buy a yacht. If I'm living in Miami or if I'm living by Austin in the lake, I might buy a boat that's like $100K or something so I can go out with my friends on the lake. But I'm not going to buy a 20 million super yacht.
Brother, we can just charter a 100-foot boat for like a few $1,000s. You know what I mean? Like if you really want to do it. Yeah. But anyway, I digress because money's not everything, but it is something, right? So you already sort of explained that above all else, I believe this is essentially what you were saying, that authenticity is king, right? Because like you didn't have the supercar, but you documented your journey, you inspired people, and you grew anyway. So if that's the case, where in the totem pole does money rank for men as far as like importance?
Okay, so we're not talking about influencers now. We're just talking about
just
as men.
Young men watching this video.
Well, look, before someone knows how much money's in your bank account, they see, if you can look at them in the eyes, they see how you're dressed. They see if you're somewhat in shape just by how the clothes lay on your body. You're not naked. They see how you've groomed yourself. They see if you respect yourself or not. So I'd say by definition, things like a base level of fitness and confidence, socialization come first because money can't matter really until you at least got those basic things done. Obviously, it could be some extreme example of like, I don't know, who's the guy, what's this guy's SPD or whatever? You know what I'm talking
SBF?
about? SBF, yeah. Like, I mean, you get some stupid amount of money. Maybe you can have the worst body and no social skills, and you can still have, I don't know, live with a bunch of prostitutes or something. I know, whatever. I digress too. But I don't think there's too many. I don't think SBF, a bunch of people like him are watching. so I mixed PBD with SBF. That's what I did. Those three letter guys. Very different guys.
As SBF was the FTX founder when they went over. He also had a fuck ton of money and is also not built very well. So confusion is understandable.
Yeah, Sam Bankman-Fried.
He's
the curly hair, not in shape. He got arrested, but maybe he got off because anyway. But so yeah, I think first is going to come these base appearance things, which again maybe, depending on where you are on your fitness journey, you might be 6 months away of consistency from having like a body that puts you in the top 20% of men, right? Like it's not that hard. The bar is pretty low out here, man. It's not that crazy. Style can be fixed overnight, even if you don't have a lot of money.
Go to Zara.
Go to Edge, but maybe Zara.
Yeah, go to Edge. Sorry, go to Edge.
No, my whole wardrobe was honestly Edge and then Zara, because Zara releases like funky stuff that like we're not going to release because it's probably not going to be profitable for us, right? But for them, they can drop 18 million SKUs every day and like somehow they manage it. Yeah. But then after that, money might be the next thing. In terms of like what your value is going to be in terms of like the dating market or in terms of networking with other successful guys, because your money is the easiest measure of like the value that you've created, what you've built for yourself outside of yourself, because money is kind of a measure of how like not selfless you are, because some people can make money with like, I don't know, maybe things that aren't the best way for society. OnlyFans. But there's other examples too. But it is some degree like the base level of like what value have you created for society, right? And also like how much do you have your shit together? So I think it's right up there. Yeah.
Okay. So what about the guys that are watching this video that just feel like the mountain's too tall to climb, right? Like, oh my God, you know, HowToBeast, he has so much money. Like, I don't know how to get started. Like, where do I start if I feel like getting rich is just like this insurmountable obstacle?
Well, go back and watch a HowToBeast video from 2017 and tell me that you're probably already 7 steps ahead of who I was at that point in time. I was just kind of like a wannabe YouTuber living in the smallest apartment in Boston, driving a bicycle around, man. I think I said it earlier, but like small steps lead to medium steps, lead to big steps. Just like set your, I'm a big advocate, and I still do this, of only setting goals for the next 3 to 6 months. I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna be doing in 5 years, bro. I don't really care, because like I'm gonna change. My preferences are gonna change.
Right.
My age is gonna change. You know, I mean, I might have kids in 5 years. I don't know. Like everything's changes. Like that's big timelines. Like how can you be like incrementally better than you are in 3 to 6 months? And I used to write, when I was really starting out, I used to create like like Excel spreadsheets. Like these are the next 3 goals. And this is probably maybe not worth doing, but to illustrate the point, you know, these are the 3 to 5 goals that I'm working on the next month. And then every month I'll go in and like log what the level of progress that was made was. Or for a while, I would do like a nightly journal where it's like, what did I do well today? What could be done better? And it creates some positive momentum, because maybe I approached the girl, but I was too afraid to like ask her for a number. But at least I'm giving myself the positive reinforcement. Oh, you should be proud that you at least like approached the girl at the gym. You know, a few weeks ago you couldn't do that, man. Okay, but next, this is the next part of the progress. Like, make the game the goal rather than the Lambo. You know, make like if I'm on level 1, bro. As long as you're on level 2 tomorrow or next month, like you're moving in the right direction. And maybe some people like they're really in the dumps, and that still doesn't motivate them. But you got to realize, like, the next 3 to 6 months, they're going to pass by regardless of what you can do. And at some point, it's almost just like choosing which pain you want. Do I want the pain of just like being really unhappy with my life and not trying because it doesn't feel worth it? Or do I want the pain of like trying and yeah, maybe you get nowhere, but at least in 6 months, you experience pain either way. At least you like gave yourself a chance, you know?
100%, bro. Absolutely. It's like you get from 1 to 10, and then when you get to 10, all you can look at is 100. But you forget that, like, fuck, when you were at 1, you would have killed to make it to where you are right now, right? And money is more that way, I think, than anything else in the world. I think that I've never felt poorer than like actually after I had made my first couple $100,000, literally.
Yeah, bro.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
Right?
Because at first you're comparing yourself to like your old high school buddies or college buddies. Mm-hmm. But as soon as you break that, say, 10K a month mark, all of a sudden, because in order to get the work to even get to that point, all of a sudden, maybe you're not like friends with, but you're somewhat lightly networked with people who are like making 100K a month. Mm-hmm. And no longer do you relate to like, I don't call them deadbeats, but like people who are like just kind of following a regular career path. And that's fine, right? A lot of people, they just want to optimize for more comfort and security, and that's fine. But like no longer are you looking at like, these are the people I'm comparing myself to. You're now like, oh fuck, but that guy, maybe, you know, he has the Lambo and he's affording it. It's not irresponsible for him to have it. You stop being a big fish in a little pond. You jump into the bigger pond with all the bigger fish, and you're like, oh shit, I'm the littlest one here. No matter how big you get, the pond just gets bigger. Right. Well, some people do, right? People who are perspicacious and self-aware do. There are some people who make $10,000 per month and think that they're fucking loaded and start acting a fool on social media. And you and I both know how that story usually ends up. And I mean, actually, you know, on that topic, like, what do you think are the biggest money pitfalls that a lot of, you know, young men make when they first start getting to the bag? Like spending any of it at first, man. Like not any of it, but like if you're not like investing it into like something that's betting on yourself. So obviously, like for me, a lot of maybe buying more expensive camera gear or hiring a business coach. Like those are obviously smart investments, because like it's a bet on yourself that like you're going to take advantage of this money. And not only does the value you're getting in exchange, you know, the new podcast mic or this business mentor, or this giving you advice, or this, I don't know, coaching program you joined. Like not only is there like a direct payback, but there's also like a bet that was made that creates more motivation than anything else, right? Like, fuck man, I had that 100K in my bank account. I could have sat back and chilled, but now I got 50K in there because I invested in these different things. Like I can't let that go to waste. So I think the bigger risk would be like rewarding yourself once you reach like what seems successful. Like just have the mindset of like, all right, I'm still going to live in this small apartment this year. Maybe next year I'll get the bigger apartment. All right, I'm going to keep driving the Honda this year. Maybe next year I'll get the Audi. Like just put it off just like a little bit longer. Just be like, you know what? Let me just keep focusing. I know what I'm doing right now is working, right? I got from point, like you said, maybe I got from level 1 to 10 rather than like taking a chance. That's what I just gave myself fear. Like I might fuck it up. Like I have some type of system that's working. I don't want to fuck it up, man. I might fuck it up. And then once you're obviously now, if you have $1 million in the bank account, it's like, okay, well now buying the car for like 70K, like you don't really have to, there's no way you can really like be like, oh, I'm going to fuck something up. Like you're good. You can get it now.
Yeah, man. I think that sometimes people get a little bit of money and before they even realize it, they remove their own optionality and freedom, right? Because like if I start making $10,000 a month and I keep the old apartment, then I like have a bunch of expendable income that I can use to invest in myself. But if I make $10,000 a month and then I start leasing the car, that's $4,000, and I upgrade my apartment to a $4,000 place, I'm in the exact same spot that I was before.
Well, those things also don't change your lifestyle.
With more shit.
Yeah.
That doesn't change my life.
But maybe what could be worthwhile, you're living in like a smaller town, you're paying $800 for rent, $800 a month for rent. It's like, you know what? Because there's always more opportunities in big cities. Maybe you move, maybe it's not to Miami, but maybe you live near Dallas, Texas. I don't know. And now you move into Dallas and now maybe you're paying $1,600 a month instead of the $800. But that's still kind of betting on yourself because that wasn't just to be flexing. And it might actually be the same level of apartment you had. You changed your location to a place that's going to have more opportunity for connections, more women to date. But like there's more, like that was actually an intelligent investment.
I just did it, bro. I just can't. Yeah. This one bedroom, anyway.
Yeah, I know.
It's crazy.
I know what I paid for a week in this building, so.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. Yeah. But yeah, man. So in summary, right, we've been through the 4 key pillars of self-improvement for young men, that being money, body, women in relationships, and mindset, right? And what's really cool about your content is we've gotten to watch a fully documented journey of all 4 of those things happening in real time and how that can change a young man's life financially, spiritually, relationship-wise in real time. I think that's why so many people can connect with you, right? But I bet if you were to do it all over again, you could probably do it faster and smarter. So if I handed you my phone right now and I had 18-year-old David on the other end of the line, what would you tell him? What would you say?
Well, so I started my YouTube journey at 27, right? And,
okay, 27-year-old David.
Okay. But maybe you can say a little sooner. I understand the point. Okay, but let's say 27 just because that's when I at least made the decision. You can even say 24-year-old. I graduated a couple of years and be like, all right, I want to change my life. I want to improve myself. But 18-year-old David, there's a lot I could have told him, man, but he was still in college. Not really, but it's tough. It's tough. I know it's like a cliche answer, but it's like, but if I told 18-year-old David all these like cheat codes for college, maybe he would have had a better experience in college and like gotten laid more, but then like he wouldn't have experienced the pain that ultimately led me down this path. So to give you an actual answer, it's not a cliche answer. Man, it's tough.
Sorry, I make you think, bro.
Yeah, it's tough. I don't have a canned response. No, I'm kidding. Let's say like just graduated college, David.
Yeah.
A part of me is also bouncing around like, well, it really depends. Like what you're talking to.
All good. You can pick any.
So this is him, just graduated college. Haven't done anything entrepreneurial yet. I have my first career job lined up. I'm starting to work at the software job. Part of me would want to say, look, you're capable of a lot more than you know. And I'm not saying that to inflate your ego, but just have confidence in yourself. And this could go for any guy. It's not just me, right? Like have confidence in yourself because with a little bit of sustained effort over some years, it's unfucking believable like what you could achieve. And it's not even in your realm of possibility. And that's not to give you an ego or to get you excited or to set your bars too high. Just you're capable of more than you know. It might just be something as simple as that. Like I believe in you and you should also believe in yourself.
It's a powerful thing to hear. I think that's our closing note. I think that's a good way to wrap it up. David, it's been an absolute pleasure, man. We joked around a lot, but it's been incredible to watch your journey thus far. like I said, I personally consume your content. I'm sure a lot of people watching this video do the same. So I appreciate you gracing Miami with your presence, coming on the show. If you need dinner recs, I got you. But yeah, I appreciate you coming on the channel, man, and enjoy your gift of your own book that you've already written and read. I appreciate you coming on, man.
Thank you, brother. Very much appreciate it. Good time. Good dap to end it.